Elite Facts presents
Spot the Difference number 7.
26.
It's back! Hello everybody and welcome to a new edition of Spot the Difference. In case you don't know how this works, let me tell you. So we'll be showing you two images side by side. We'll keep them up there temporarily and then we'll move on to the answers. There are 5 differences for you to spot in each puzzle. Feel free to pause the video at any time so you can take a closer look. Score 1 point for each correct answer. Keep a tally in your head or write it down. Good luck. Let's begin. Let's get started by getting nostalgic with this classic cartoon, Dexter's Laboratory. Think you can find all the differences? The first difference is Dexter's left-hand glove. The second difference is the extra light on the machine to the left of the image. Difference number 3 is that he's missing the strands of hair on the back of his head. Dexter may be going bald. Difference number 4 is that the box towards the front of the image on the left-hand side is now missing a button. It was bound to happen thanks to Dee Dee. And finally, the note towards the left side of the picture is different. Hopefully Dexter has picked the right time to have lunch with his mom.
25.
Now on to our next image. Think you can find all the differences? The first difference is towards the right of the screen where you'll notice the color of his wrist light has changed. Difference number 2 is the strand of hair on the left side of his head. You might need to get a haircut soon if his hair is getting that wild. Who are we kidding? It's already wild. Difference number 3 is the shading on his jacket towards the bottom of the picture. The fourth difference is that he's using 3 fingers to draw a card rather than 2. We get the sneaky suspicion that he's cheating. And finally, difference number 5 is that the zip on his jacket has multiple triangles now, rather than just 3.
24.
Moving on, we now have good old Mario, along with his brother Luigi, Yoshi, and Princess Peach. Think you can spot all the differences? Let's see. Difference number 1 is the Koopa Troopa flying in the background towards the top of the screen. Difference number 2 is that Luigi now has an M on his hat instead of an L. Poor Luigi. You can tell he always wanted to be Mario. Difference number 3 is that Mario's mouth is much smaller than it is in the original picture. Difference number 4 is the box in the background behind Princess Peach. Who designed this place? We know the world of Mario is mad and all, but you could at least not make the box upside down. That's shoddy craftsmanship, Bowser. And finally, difference number 5 is Princess Peach's dress. Did you find them all?
23.
Next up, we have the Justice League in Lego form, because we all know Lego makes everything better. First of all, we have something that shouldn't even exist in the DC universe. You can see your friendly neighborhood and dimension crossing Spider-Man in the top left corner. Next thing you know, we'll be seeing Stan Lee making a cameo in a DC film. Actually, that would be pretty awesome. Next, we can spot a horrifying eye alteration to Batman. Does anyone else find this a bit unsettling? For difference number 3, we can see Wonder Woman's tiara now has a heart on it instead of a star. Next, we can see Batman's belt buckle now has less detail on it. And finally, the Flash's logo on his chest has changed from yellow and white to 2 tones of red. Did you spot them all?
22.
Check it out, it's Perry the Platypus from Phineas and Ferb playing poker. What's the message they're teaching kids these days? Anyway, can you spot the differences? The first difference we can see is that Perry has more poker chips than in the original picture. Hey, he's doing pretty well for himself. Next, you can see that Perry has a refreshing can of Diet Coke now. We're definitely not sponsored by Diet Coke, but hey, we're open to it. Next, you can see the band around his hat is now missing. And you'll notice that his tail has changed from brown to blue. And finally, you can see that his shirt is now a full button-down shirt rather than a polo shirt. That is one sharp-dressed platypus.
21,
Oh, SpongeBob, did you take my lipstick again? That's right, SpongeBob applying lipstick to himself. Nothing out of the ordinary here. First up, you can see that his lipstick is red rather than blue. Next, you can see the line on his purse has now vanished. Purse? Wait a minute. Well, I guess he's got to carry his Krabby Patties in something, right? Next, you can see that SpongeBob has been messing with the Yakuza because he's now missing his pinky finger. Ouch. You can also see that SpongeBob now has another hole on the right side of his forehead. And finally, the bottom right of the background has changed. Did you spot them all?
20,
Hey, it's every sweet tooth's dream, a river of M&Ms and Skittles. Can you spot the differences? First thing you'll notice is that there's a Smartie mixed in with the M&Ms and Skittles. Hold on, aren't Smarties and Skittles the same? We've been lied to. Well, now that we've got that out of the way, you'll next notice that a blue M&M towards the top right has now turned purple. This stuff must be radioactive or something. Next up, you can see another M&M has been added to the bottom left corner. Next, you'll see that an M&M towards the middle left of the picture has changed from light blue to green. And finally, you can see another M&M has been added in towards the middle right of the picture. Did you get them all?
19,
As if the cartoon at the start of this video didn't make us nostalgic enough, now we've got the always classic Tom and Jerry. Can you spot the differences with this dynamic duo? First thing you'll probably notice is that Jerry moved from being in front of Tom to his right-hand side, or left side of the picture. Smart move on his part. Next thing you'll see is that Tom's eyes have changed from green to dark blue. The third difference is that the light patch of fur from Tom's stomach has now disappeared. Next, you can see that Tom is doing his best Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson impression by raising his right eyebrow, left side of the picture. And finally, you can see the white patch of fur on his tail takes up a lot more of his tail now. Did you find them all?
18,
Somehow, we were expecting Stan Lee to show up after we mentioned him earlier. Anyway, can you spot the differences? First up, you'll notice that he actually has coffee in his cup now. Why did he go to the cafe in the first place if he was just getting an empty mug? Second difference you'll notice is that the man in the background is now wearing a blue sweater. Third thing you'll notice is that Stan Lee has decided to grow a little soul patch. The fourth difference in this picture is that Stan is now missing his watch on his left hand, right of the picture. He should probably call the police if he ever wants to have a good time again. And finally, you can see that the man in the background has had 4 coffees instead of 3.
17,
Classic Homer. It just wouldn't be him if he wasn't lounging about in his tighty whities. Anyway, can you spot the differences in this one? First thing you'll notice is that he's traded in his Superman t-shirt for a Flash t-shirt. Personally, we liked him when he was the Pie Crusader, Everyman. Next thing you'll notice is that Maggie is now in the scene. The third difference in the picture is that the lamp is now missing the green shade towards the top of the base. Next, you'll notice that the picture in the background is missing a cloud. And finally, you can see that the shutter on the little desk is closed down more than in the original photo.
16,
Next up, we have the most patriotic family on television, the Smiths from American Dad. The first and probably most obvious thing you'll notice is that Roger is now green. Next, you can see that Haley's peace sign necklace is now missing. Third thing you'll notice is that the window in the background is missing part of the frame that the other windows have. The fourth thing you'll notice is that the fence in the background is much larger when compared to the original. And finally, you can see that the garage light in the background is now upside down.
15,
Next up, we have the Tomb Raider herself, Lara Croft. Can you spot all the differences? First thing you'll notice is that the color of her top has changed to a much darker blue. Next thing you'll notice is that her eyebrows are now missing. That is just plain horrifying. And now her lips have shrunk. This is just a straight up nightmare fuel. The fourth thing you'll see is that the strap for her belt is now missing. And finally, you can see the tree to the right of the picture has an extra leaf on it.
14.
How about a game of chess? See if you can find all the changes. First thing you may notice right off the bat is that one of the white squares is now black, making an X in the middle of the screen. Next thing you'll notice is that the knight and bishop pieces in the top left corner have swapped places. Also, you can see that there's a pawn piece out of place in the bottom right corner. The fourth thing you'll see is that the pawn piece towards the bottom left corner is now colored white. And finally, you can see that the king's crown now has an extra spike on it.
13.
First thing you'll see is that the moon isn't in its waxing crescent form, but is rather just a full moon. The second thing you'll notice is that the character towards the right of the picture is wearing boots instead of her normal shoes. The third thing you can see is that the bow of the character second from the right has changed from pink to yellow. Next thing you can see is that the tiara the character furthest to the left is wearing is now missing. And finally, you can see one of the windows from the buildings towards the left of the picture is now missing. Did you spot them all?
12.
Time for a little Sherlock, starring Dr. Strange himself, Benedict Cumberbatch. The first thing you'll notice is that the B on the door in the background is missing. Second thing you'll notice is that the red button holder on his jacket's lapel is now missing. The third thing you'll notice is that the brick pattern on the wall towards the left of the picture is now also missing. The fourth thing you can see is that Sherlock's shirt is no longer red. And finally, you can see that Sherlock's eyes are now a different color. Looks like he's now possessed by the devil. That's always fun.
11.
Next up, we have Pokemon. First thing you'll notice is that Ash's hat is now missing his iconic logo. Second thing you'll notice is that the Team Rocket logo is missing from James's uniform on the left side of the picture. Next, you can see that Jessie is missing her earrings. Oh look, Pikachu has gone cross-eyed. Time for a bit of laser eye surgery. And finally, the raft they're all on has a bit of extra detail in the bottom right corner of the picture.
10.
Continuing with the anime theme, here we have Digimon. First up, we can see that the Greymon's eye color has changed. Secondly, you can see that he's now missing a toe. Maybe that little piggy went to market. Next, you can see that he has another horn on his snout. You can also see that he has an extra bit of blue detail on his jawline. And finally, you can see that the background is now missing a strand of DNA. Did you miss any?
9.
Let's move on to the merc with a mouth himself, Deadpool. Can you spot all the differences? First thing you might have noticed is that one of the eye areas of his mask is much darker than in the original. Second thing you may have noticed is that he's giving a very weak thumbs up. The third difference you'll notice is that his right eye is much more open than his left eye. Next, you can see that the handle of his katana is missing a bit of detail. And finally, you can see that the front of his suit is missing some detail as well.
8.
Next up, we have the mask. Can you spot all the differences? The first thing you'll notice is that he's missing the feather off of his hat. The next thing you'll notice is that his neck is now green, like his face. The third thing you'll see is that his coat now has more buttonholes. The fourth thing you'll notice is that the pattern on his tie only has 2 dots now instead of 3. And finally, you can see that the tissue in his jacket pocket has a much larger dot on it.
7,
Here's a nice simple one for you guys, just to give you a little bit of a break. So we might as well get ready for the release of The Last Jedi, am I right? First thing you'll notice is that the middle outline of the A in Star Wars is now missing. The second thing you'll notice is that the S in the word star is now much longer. The third thing you'll notice is that the O in the word force is now filled in, creating a solid circle. The fourth thing you can see, and probably the most obvious thing to spot, is that the word wars looks much taller than in the original photo. And finally, someone misspelled the title of the film by just calling it The Force Awakens.
6,
Once again, we jump back to Yu-Gi-Oh! The first thing you'll notice is that his shoulder pad is much larger. The second thing you'll notice is that the card no longer says done on it. The third thing that's different is that his abs now have no line detail. Next, you can see that his cape doesn't have any white detail on it anymore. And finally, you can see that his eyes have a bit of extra detail on them. Did you catch them all? Oh crap, wrong anime.
5,
Nothing unusual here, just 3 shady-looking individuals playing poker. Can you see anything different? First thing you may have noticed is that there's an extra glass of whiskey on the table. Good stuff. And now you can see that they're playing with more poker chips than in the original picture. The third thing you might notice is that the guy on the far right has no eyebrows. He probably lost those in a bet too. Next, you can see that the person on the far left is missing a cufflink. Again, probably lost it on a bet. And finally, the guy in the middle is a filthy cheater because he has more cards than he did in the original photo. Clearly, it was hidden up his sleeve.
4,
Oh God, not Angry Birds. Okay then, let's do this. The first difference you'll notice is that the bird looks livid as his eyebrows are much more angled. Next, you'll notice that he's missing a toe or claw or whatever. The next thing you'll notice is that the word "the" in the film's title is now missing. Next, you can see that the word "movie" is much larger than in the original picture. And finally, the release date for the film is marked as 2012 rather than 2016. We wish it was. That way, maybe we would have forgotten that this film ever even existed.
3,
Next, we have the dude from the Pen Pineapple Pen music video. Yeah, we have no idea either. The first thing you'll notice is that there's now text on the bottom of the picture frame. Second, you can see his watch now has a face. Wait, it didn't have a face on it before? Weird. Next, you can see that the apple towards the left side of the framed photo is missing the leaf on the stem. Next, you can see that his hair is now brown instead of black. And finally, you can see that the pen on his back is now missing the gold detail, thus making it less valuable.
2,
Once again, we return for a visit with Springfield's most lovable drunk, Homer Simpson. The first thing you'll notice is that maybe the Yakuza have yet again gotten involved in this video and have now taken Homer's arm. Needless to say, he doesn't look that concerned about it. Next, you can see his mouth is now showing teeth. The third thing you'll notice is that the word failure in the speech bubble has now been replaced with the word failing. Next, you can see that Homer's eyebrow is lower than in the original photo. And finally, you can see that Homer's finger is much longer than in the original photo.
1,
Okay, here's our final puzzle. Yay! And what a way to end it. Money. The first thing you'll notice is that the Queen of England has decided to plaster her own face on the $100 bill. Next, you'll notice that the icon is now missing on the $100 bill towards the left side of the screen. Next, you can also see that the previously mentioned dollar bill is in fact counterfeit, as it's only 10 bucks. Next, you can see the code for the dollar bill in the bottom left corner is much different when compared to the original. And finally, you'll notice that the star on the $50 bill in the middle of the photo is rotated. Man, that was a long one. Well, that's the end of this edition of Spot the Difference. Tally your scores and let us know how well you did in the comments below. Thanks for spotting by.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more elite facts.